So now we're going to carry out a different analysis with the ENFSI exercise 2, and we're going to investigate the effects of altering the propositions, and we're going to make a comparison of the results with EuroForMix Studio. So now we alter the propositions as follows. We're going to replace the suspects as unknown in both alternative propositions. So we are now evaluating under the prosecution hypothesis the victim and unknown, and under the defence hypothesis we have two unknown individuals. So this is different from the previous exercise because we are now treating the suspects as an unknown person in both the numerator and the denominator. So we carry out the analysis under the model specification tab. Under the prosecution hypothesis we have the victim and one unknown individual. Under the defence hypothesis we have two unknown individuals. The model is still a degradation model without stutter, and we click on the button here, the continuous LR button, which gives us the MLE fit, and then we can inspect the mixture proportions, which are virtually the same as before. We've got 20% of the victims as a contributor, and the remainder is around about 80% of the unknown individual. And here we can see the likelihood ratio, log 10 11.06 in this example. And then we do exactly the same as before. We evaluate the model, we look at the PP plots, make sure it's a reasonable straight line in between the red envelope here. That's for the defence hypothesis, and for the prosecution hypothesis we do exactly the same. So we check to make sure these plots give us a valid model, which they do in this particular case, and then we carry out the sensitivity analysis over here. We analyse the data, and we can see that with the 5% quantile equals 9.71, which is actually extremely close to what we achieved when we conditioned on the suspect. So in common with what we found with ENFSI exercise 1, the conditioning doesn't make very much difference to the likelihood ratio using EFM, because the results, as you can see, are comparable to each other. Okay, now if we now turn to the results of EuroForMix Studio, again we carry out exactly the same analysis. Under the prosecution hypothesis we have the victim and one unknown contributor, and two unknown contributors for the defence hypothesis, and this gives us a very low likelihood ratio, which is effectively neutral. It's just 6. Likelihood ratio is 6. So that is a very great difference between EuroForMix Studio and EFM. So EFM is clearly giving us the more efficient model, and it illustrates once again that EuroForMix Studio does not work as efficiently if we are not able to condition on a major contributor to the profile. So now we carry out non-contributor tests. We take 1,000 random individuals and we apply them to the model. So looking at EuroForMix Studio first, we see that the maximum observed is log -8, and compare that with the observed from the victim of 0.787. You can see that it does appear to be quite discriminating, even though the likelihood ratio here is almost neutral. Now compare that with EuroForMix and look at the maximum observed here. The maximum is -1.3, which is greater than that observed in EuroForMix Studio, and the observed likelihood ratio is log 9, which is over here somewhere. So EFM is discriminating. It ensures that if we do the analysis, there is little difference whether we condition on the suspect or not with this particular example, whereas with EuroForMix Studio it makes a big difference, as we can see. To conclude, if we condition with the suspect S under both the prosecution and the defence hypotheses, this makes little difference whether EFM or EuroForMix Studio is used, as in both cases the likelihood ratio is greater than log 10 9. However, if we change the conditioning to prosecution hypothesis equals victim plus unknown versus the defence hypothesis 2 unknown individuals, then this has a big effect with EuroForMix Studio but little effect with EFM. So with EFM the log likelihood ratio is still greater than 9, but with EuroForMix it reduces to 0.79. However, with EuroForMix, the non-contributor analysis reveals the model is still discriminating despite the low likelihood ratio. So the final conclusion is that minor evidential profiles in major minor mixtures are best evaluated with EFM if there are unknown contributors in the prosecution hypothesis.